In New York Harbor, a robed woman raises a torch above the water, facing outward toward the Atlantic. To many people, she is simply the Statue of Liberty, one of the most recognizable monuments on Earth. But her full name is more ambitious: Liberty Enlightening the World. That title matters, because the statue was never meant to be just a decoration or a landmark. It was designed as an idea made visible. Liberty is something active, something that shines outward, something meant to guide nations and people. Since its dedication in 1886, the statue has become deeply connected with the United States, especially with New York City and the story of immigration. Yet its origins were international, political, artistic, and deeply symbolic. It was a French gift to America, built across an ocean, funded through public effort, and assembled piece by piece on an island that would become famous worldwide. The statue stands on Liberty Island, which was once known as Bedloe's Island, in New York Harbor. Its location is not incidental. New York Harbor was one of the great gateways into the United States, a place where ships arrived carrying goods, travelers, workers, and immigrants. Placing the statue there gave it a powerful role in the geography of arrival. It was not hidden in a capital city square or placed inside a government building. It stood at the edge of the nation, visible from the water. The figure itself is colossal and neoclassical, meaning its design draws on ancient Greek and Roman artistic traditions. She is shown as a classically draped woman, calm and monumental, crowned and robed, not as a warrior in motion but as a dignified personification of an ideal. The statue's power comes from that combination: ancient visual language, modern engineering, and a very specific political message. The woman represented by the statue was inspired by Libertas, the Roman goddess of liberty. That connection gave the monument a universal quality, allowing it to speak not only to one country's history but to the broader idea of freedom itself. In her right hand, she holds a torch high above her head. The torch suggests enlightenment, guidance, and the spreading of liberty's light beyond one place. In her left hand, she carries a tablet known as a tabula ansata, a classical tablet form with handles. On it is written July 4 MDCCLXXVI, Roman numerals for July 4, 1776. That date refers to the U.S. Declaration of Independence. The design therefore connects ancient symbols of liberty with a modern political event, the birth of the United States as an independent nation. Every major object she holds is doing symbolic work. One of the statue's most important symbols is easier to miss because it is at her feet. With her left foot, Liberty steps on a broken chain and shackle. This detail commemorates the national abolition of slavery following the American Civil War. That matters because the statue was imagined in the period after the war, when the United States had preserved the Union and legally ended slavery, but was still struggling over what freedom would mean in practice. The broken chain turns the monument from a simple celebration of independence into something broader. It connects liberty with emancipation and with the destruction of bondage. The statue's symbolism is therefore layered: independence from empire, democratic endurance, and the liberation of enslaved people. It presents freedom not as a completed possession, but as an ideal that had to be fought for, defined, and defended. The idea for the monument is usually traced to 1865, when the French historian and abolitionist Édouard de Laboulaye proposed a gift that would honor the United States. Laboulaye admired American democracy and was especially interested in the meaning of emancipation after the Civil War. He imagined a monument that could commemorate the upcoming centennial of U.S. independence in 1876, while also celebrating the perseverance of democratic government and the liberation of enslaved people. This was not only a gesture of friendship, it was also a statement about France. Laboulaye and others who supported Republican ideals in France saw the United States as a symbol of constitutional democracy. By celebrating America, they could also promote their own political hopes at home. So the statue began as a transatlantic idea, shaped by admiration, abolitionism, and Republican politics. The sculptor chosen to bring this idea to life was Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi. He developed the form of the statue and guided its artistic identity. But the project was enormous, and it required more than sculpture in the traditional sense. This was not a marble figure carved from a single block, but a colossal copper-clad structure that had to stand against wind, weather, and time. The statue's outer skin was made of copper, while its internal metal framework was built by Gustave Eiffel, who would later become famous for the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel's engineering allowed the copper exterior to be supported while also accommodating movement and stress. In other words, Liberty's calm appearance depends on a hidden structure of advanced 19th-century engineering. The monument is both art and machine, symbolic figure and structural achievement. The project did not proceed smoothly. The Franco-Prussian War delayed progress, and by 1875 Laboulaye proposed a practical division of responsibility. The people of France would finance and build the statue, while the United States would provide the site and construct the pedestal. This arrangement sounds simple, but it created major fundraising challenges on both sides of the Atlantic. Bartholdi worked to keep public attention alive by completing and displaying parts of the statue before the whole monument was finished. The head and the torch-bearing arm became publicity tools. The arm was exhibited at the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia in 1876, then displayed in Madison Square Park in Manhattan from 1876 to 1882. These fragments gave people a preview of the monument's scale and helped transform an unfinished idea into a public cause. Fundraising in the United States proved especially difficult because the pedestal was expensive, and enthusiasm did not immediately translate into enough money. The turning point came when publisher Joseph Pulitzer used the New York World newspaper to launch a donation drive. Pulitzer appealed not only to wealthy patrons but to ordinary people, encouraging small contributions from the public. This was important because it gave the monument a democratic fundraising story. The pedestal would not simply be the product of elite sponsorship, it would be completed through many individual gifts. That campaign helped rescue the American side of the project and reinforced the statue's message. A monument dedicated to liberty and democracy was, in part, made possible by public participation. The statue's final meaning was shaped not only by its designers, but by the people who helped bring it into being. While fundraising continued in America, the statue itself was built in France. Because it was too large to move as a single object, it had to be constructed, disassembled, packed, shipped across the Atlantic, and then rebuilt. The copper pieces and internal components arrived in crates, turning the future icon into a massive transoceanic puzzle. Once the pedestal on Bedloe's Island was ready, workers assembled the statue in New York Harbor. This process gives the monument another layer of meaning. It was literally made through cooperation across borders: French design and construction, American site and pedestal, international shipping, and local assembly. The final statue was not the product of one city or one government alone. It was a physical expression of alliance, shared ideals, and the complicated labor required to turn a symbolic vision into reality. The Statue of Liberty was dedicated on October 28, 1886. The completion was celebrated with New York's first ticker tape parade, a public spectacle that helped mark the statue as a major civic and national event. President Grover Cleveland presided over the dedication ceremony, giving the monument official recognition at the highest level of American government. By the time of the dedication, the statue had already traveled through years of delays, debates, fundraising drives, exhibitions, engineering problems, and public anticipation. Its unveiling was therefore not just the presentation of a finished sculpture. It was the culmination of a long campaign to create a symbol big enough for the ideals attached to it. The ceremony helped transform Liberty from a project into a national icon, one that would soon take on meanings even larger than its creators had planned. Over time, the Statue of Liberty became especially associated with immigrants arriving in the United States by sea. For countless travelers entering New York Harbor, the statue was one of the first major sights of America. Its torch, tablet, and dignified posture came to represent welcome, possibility, and a new beginning. This immigrant meaning was not the only meaning of the statue, and it was not the only reason it was built, but it became one of its most powerful associations. The monument stood at the threshold between old lives and new hopes. Even for people who never visited the island, images of the statue became shorthand for the United States as a destination and for freedom as an aspiration. In this way, the statue's location helped shape its legacy as much as its design did. The statue's administration has changed over time. It was first overseen by the United States Lighthouse Board until 1901, which reflects the practical role its torch and harbor position suggested. It then came under the Department of War, before eventually being maintained by the National Park Service from 1933 onward as part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument. Today it is a major tourist attraction, but access is carefully managed. Limited numbers of visitors can enter the pedestal and climb to the interior of the crown, while public access to the torch has been barred since 1916. These restrictions remind us that the statue is not only a symbol, but also a historic structure that must be preserved. Its copper surface, iron and steel support systems, and island setting all require care so the monument can survive for future generations. The Statue of Liberty endures because it combines many stories in one image. It is a French gift, an American landmark, a feat of engineering, a work of public art, a monument to independence, and a symbol tied to emancipation and immigration. Its tablet points to 1776, its broken chain points to abolition, its torch points outward to a wider world, and its very construction points to international cooperation. That is why the statue remains more than a postcard image. It carries ideals that have been celebrated, debated, tested, and reinterpreted for more than a century. Standing in New York Harbor, Liberty does not simply represent what freedom has meant in the past. It challenges each generation to ask what liberty should mean now, who it includes, and how brightly that torch is still allowed to shine. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.